Repairing broken plastic parts. To successfully repair broken parts made from plastic, the type of adhesive and mechanical loading of the repaired part needs to be taken into consideration. The part that I'm going to attempt to repair is a suspension mounting for a microphone. This is not the professional type of microphone suspension I would normally use. It belongs to my grandson. It holds a USB condenser type microphone that he uses with his computer. Here you can see the problem. This part is broken, and looking at the design of this, it's really not strong enough anyway. I'm going to have a go at repairing this suspension mounting. But first I need to know which type of plastic it's made from. Initially I thought that this part was made from ABS. And to see whether it is ABS plastic, I'm going to apply some neat acetone to the joint. Pure acetone is a very good adhesive to use when working with acrylonitrile butadiene styrene. I'd like to show you what happens to acetone when it comes into contact with ABS plastic. It dissolves it, and it dissolves it very well and very quickly. If you coat 2 pieces of ABS with acetone and press them together, once the acetone evaporates, the parts are welded together. By applying some acetone to this piece of ABS sheet, you can see that it's been dissolved, and here to prove that, I'm wiping the brush on a cloth, showing that the brush contains liquid plastic. Now it's time to find out if this microphone suspension mounting is made from ABS plastic. It sort of looks like it, but when I apply some acetone to the joint, it's not been attacked by it at all. When attempting to repair something like this, I cannot recommend using superglue. Superglue does not respond very well to shock, and it would break very quickly. After I applied some superglue to both of the surfaces, I held the joint together, and it did appear to hold the parts together okay. It was strong enough to hold the parts together while I used a small needle file to roughen the inside surface, but not strong enough for a permanent repair. What I'm going to do is put a piece of mahogany in here. I shaped this wooden block using my 1-inch belt sander, and it's purposely not a tight fit, because I'm going to use this stuff, 2-pack 5-minute epoxy resin. And the gap between the wood and the plastic is sufficient to allow this stuff to run into the gap and hold everything together. It is of course a 2-pack mix, and I'm mixing the 2 parts here. It's quite important to make sure that you get equal amounts of both the resin and the hardener. This clip is running at 4 times normal speed. The 2 parts are running together and are now being helped by me stirring them up. This was a very messy job, and there was a reason why I used 5-minute epoxy resin rather than the half-hour stuff. I applied quite a lot of epoxy resin to the joint and kept the part moving until it started to set. And as you can see, this is the effect that I got. Plenty of epoxy resin on the joint. But I haven't finished this job by a long way. The next thing to do is to shorten 4 bolts. These are very small 8BA brass bolts. And the next part of the job is to drill holes in the plastic part only using a twist drill that is clearance size for 8BA. I drilled 4 holes in the part, slightly offset. There's a moulding line in the middle, so this side was drilled above the moulding line. And when I turned the part over to drill the other side, you will notice that I also drilled above the moulding line. Now it's time to drill into the mahogany using a drill which is tapping size for 8BA. I don't need to use a tap for this job. The bolts will self-tap as they go into the holes. And because the bolts aren't in line with each other, there's no chance of them colliding in the middle of the mahogany block. Here I'm screwing them in place, and they're very firm, and they're threading the mahogany beautifully. After doing this, I cleaned up the joint on my 1-inch belt sander, but around the edges it was a little bit raggy, and a good way of getting rid of this is to use a small blowtorch. This is my small Proxon blowtorch, a very useful tool to have. After rubbing down the repaired part, I sprayed some satin black paint onto a piece of cardboard. I didn't go over the top with the finish on this job. It's just a quick repair so that my grandson William can plug his microphone in and speak to his friends online while they play computer games against each other. My grandson has a room upstairs in the house in which he lives, and a while back I was getting very worried about him because I thought he was talking to himself. Now there's nothing wrong with that. No, there isn't. Not at all. It's quite normal. Well, that's debatable, but anyway, The microphone suspension is now repaired, and when I gave it back to him, he didn't even notice the repair. The important thing was that the microphone fitted back into the suspension without wobbling about. I'm no expert on types of plastic. I know what polystyrene is and I know what ABS is. This part may even be glass-filled nylon, but it broke anyway and now it's mended. And I really don't think the part that I've repaired will ever break again. To finish this video, I'm going to show an excerpt from a previous video, where I used acetone as the main adhesive to fix this part. In this one, I'm showing how to repair a broken Minelab CTX 3030 17-inch coil. These Minelab CTX coils are very expensive. Very good though, I must admit, but very expensive, and the lugs are not the strongest part of them. They seem to break quite easily, and most people just stick them back together with 5-minute epoxy, like this one, and it's a disaster. So if you're going to repair one of these, please don't be tempted to use 5-minute epoxy. It does sort of hold the parts together, but with this amount of 5-minute epoxy all over the place, well, it would stick anything together. I'm going to stick a new lug to this mounting because the original one's long gone. By way of a comparison, to give you some idea how much better this looks than it first started, here's the original photograph. Now that really is horrible. I just couldn't live with it at all. My repair looks better and it's a lot stronger. Stronger in fact than it was originally. And that's it for this video. Thanks for watching and I hope you found it useful. Please take the time to visit my Mainsteam Models website. Click on the section of the website that says Video Playlists. And by doing that, you will find it very easy to find other videos that you may like to watch.